Yep, it's official. LG will apparently release 2 complementary flagship smartphones each year. Like in 2015 they got the G4, and then there comes the V10, so 2 flagships with each different taste and style. And in 2016 they first have their modular LG G5, but if you're not into the G5, they now have the LG V20 for you. So let's check out what this phone has to offer. I have 2 words to describe the design and build quality of this phone. Totally awesome. Earlier I was actually disappointed on the not so masculine design of the G5. But then I feel relieved when I first saw the V20 with its sturdy, bold and classy design. The front face resembles the looks of HTC M series, where the screen and black bezels are placed within the metallic accents made from siloxane polycarbonate, which is some fancy plastics. Still, my favorite part lies behind, which is the back cover that is made from crazy strong military or aircraft grade aluminum, which is one of the reasons why this phone passed through the US military testing for drop protections. It's cool to imagine high-tech jet fighters in the Air Force like the F-35 are probably made from the same materials your phone is made of, right? Of course I agree with that. Still in the rear, we can see the dual camera module and the fingerprint reader that also functions as the power button. One remarkable feature compared to most other flagships is the really easily removable back cover by just pressing this one button on the side. Behind the cover you can access the SIM card, SD card and the battery. Despite this phone isn't waterproof because of this, it's fine for me since I drop my phone way more often into concrete than water. Another thing I am comfortable with is the position of the volume keys, which return to the side. LG V20 is clearly not a small phone with a 5.7-inch Quad HD display, which is still an IPS panel. Despite it's not AMOLED, the contrast ratio and colors are really good for an IPS display. Just like the V10, this phone features a smaller secondary display above the primary screen, which we will see more into after this. Lastly, there's a 3.5mm jack and USB-C on the connectivity side, and overall, I don't have any serious complaints on the design. Congrats LG! From the silicon side, this phone is pretty much similar to most flagships in 2016. Snapdragon 820, Adreno 530, 4GB of RAM and 32 or 64GB of storage. Interestingly, on the software side, this phone comes with Android 7.0 with Optimus UI 5 out of the box. So this is the first Android Nougat smartphone you can buy besides the Google Pixel. In terms of apps and games, the performance is unquestionably fast. 3D games and side-by-side multitasking are running really smooth, plus it has a formidable Antutu benchmark score compared to other Android flagships. So since there's nothing to complain about its performance, let's move on. Besides having 2 displays, this phone also has 2 cameras laying side by side behind. Why? Well, because why not? One is a 8MP super wide angle module and the other one is a standard angle 16MP unit with optical stabilization. Unlike the Huawei P9, these 2 cameras with different focal lengths are working individually, even the sensor size is different. It's more like you have a DSLR with 2 prime lenses, which only one can be used at a time. Here you can clearly see the difference between the standard and the GoPro like super wide angle picture. The camera software here is interesting since most of the settings can be easily adjusted manually. The focusing is fast since it's helped by laser sensor like the Zenfone, plus the macro focusing is totally worth some attention. Even if you want to try manual focus peaking is here to help. The images are fine and sharp, but the dynamic range is not impressive, besides a slightly off and strange white balance, especially when shooting indoor. On the front, you'll find a very wide angle 5MP selfie unit, which is practical if you want to capture a lot of friends. The app can also apply beautify effects, but with some aggressive and noticeable noise reduction. Lastly, you can record relatively stable 4K videos on this phone thanks to its OIS. Just to remind you, OIS is only available on the standard angle module, so I won't recommend you to take videos with a super wide angle module. This phone is catching the attention of audio enthusiasts because of its so-called Quad DAC, which they promise could deliver more punch into your audio experience. But since I'm not an expert on that matter, I will just ask a friend who understands.
Oke, untuk sekarang saya pakai yang pertama adalah Onkyo. Jadi ini ada player Onkyo, bikinan Onkyo, namanya DPX1. Dia dedicated player untuk musik, jadi bukan kayak HP. Dan ya, dari harga sama lah seperti V20. Ini cukup mendekati, jadi dan dibanding iPhone ini sangat jauh. Jadi untuk kualitas V20 ini udah bukan kualitas smartphone lagi kalau menurut saya, tapi udah kualitas player musik yang cukup serius. Kalau dibandingkan sama Onkyo mungkin masih agak jauh, tapi kalau misalnya saya kasih harga, ini setara dengan kualitas player yang harganya di 3-5 juta. Namun perlu diingat, ini adalah handphone, bukan player.
Following the promise I made in the beginning, I will show you what the secondary display does. You can pretty much play several app shortcuts, control music player, display information and notification, and even giving some extra space in certain apps. Let's say music player. The display can be left on even when the phone is locked, plus things like displaying your name as long as it's not too long. So, sorry Access. But I think the placement is a little bit off where it's difficult to reach for my thumb when using it one-handed. I rather prefer the Galaxy Note Edge concept 2 years ago where it placed the quick access bar on the side. Now talking about battery capacity, 3200 mAh is rather unimpressive for a 5.7-inch size smartphone. For heavy usage like gaming, Facebook, and constant browsing, the battery could last 10 hours. For medium usage, it still could last a full day, so no worries. Still, LG could have installed a larger battery for extra headroom. Fortunately, it's very simple to replace its battery. Since this phone has a protruding camera module, I recommend anyone to buy a good and thick case to improve comfort when placed down and avoid scratchings. Finally, it's a phone that's truly fulfilling my expectations for a flagship in 2016. Lots of features, strong, solid, and versatile. One thing that's holding me off from making the V20 a practical daily driver for myself is the size. It's simply a bit too large. LG should have made it with a slightly smaller screen and bezels, which 5.5-inch would be the maximum for me. It's even okay to be a little bit thicker, thus eliminating the camera bulge and at the same time fitting a bigger battery. Okay, that's it for the LG V20, and as you may know, we rarely review smartphones, but if you like us to review them, tell us in the comments down below what we should review next. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and as always, have a nice day.